You know that guy in the Sonic video game franchise? You know, out of the crew, the guy that's known to be the muscle of the group. See, in Archie comics, that's still a theme. When it comes to Knuckles the Echidna, Sonic's friendly rival, you know, rivaling him and stuff, even though Sonic has the speed advantage. Knuckles has shown time and time again that he's fast enough, despite Sonic having the speed advantage, he's still fast enough to keep up with Sonic. Whether we're talking about trading blows, fighting speed, fist punching speed and stuff, or just overall durable enough to withstand full-blown speed-amped punches from Sonic. You know how Sonic uses his speed to increase his punching power? Like, Knuckles is able to withstand that type of stuff on a consistent basis. Let's analyze him, shall we? Let's get into it. When it comes to his lore, you know, he's not human, obviously, but he's really strong. And there's a theme in this universe. They're constantly either getting powered up by super emeralds or just stuff in general, getting new forms and stuff, or they're fighting beings that are powered up by this stuff. It's like a common theme in this universe. Stuff that you already know, like his lore. He's the last guardian of Angel Island. He will protect the Master Emerald. That's the thing he's always known to do. You know, these things that have quote-unquote limitless power. Like, that's the common thing they do. In this universe, we have lore on why he's kind of strong and powerful, like just off his natural abilities. And you ever wonder why he got them spikes in his knuckles? This universe kind of explains that in the comic lore. Like when he met other echidnas, meeting his father. See, his father had a dream that he believed that would eventually unfold, so he wanted to prep for the worst. No, I'm not playing. They literally said prepare. Like they literally explained his father became his own guinea pig using long forbidden technologies, including biological enhancements, so that when your mother carried you, the result was more than just a sum total of our combined genetic structure. All this stuff is telling why Knuckles is so strong. Before Knuckles was hatched, his egg was blasted with and subjected to a radiation bath, enabled through the full force of the Chaos Emerald. Anyway, after bathing him in radiation, they knew the effort was a success. Like, you see how these other Knuckles people have, like, spikes on their hands, but when they take the gloves off, there's no spikes. But Knuckles takes his gloves off, he still has spikes. Knuckles is a genetically enhanced mutant. Even though he's an echidna, he's a better than average type of echidna warrior. Knuckles is actually just special in this Archie universe. They even broke down for us his family tree. Isn't this cool? So all this stuff could be part of the reason why his base state can just punch so hard and he's just a muscle-based being, even though he's fast too. Punching power with them spikes help too. We literally see him use his knuckles as blades. Like he'll cut stuff or just anchor himself to the ground so he won't get blew away. So it's natural throughout his adventures, since he was bathed in radiation blast from a full power of a Chaos Emerald. His egg was bathed in that energy. So you know there's got to be adventures to explore this, because he's different than other echidna, having latent chaos energy in him. Like there'll be moments where he'll literally turn green like this, get powered up. This same latent chaos energy would apparently help him heal up faster. Like, as you know, Knuckles doesn't necessarily have to be green to channel this energy, because they explain it here. Perhaps he's able to channel the energy of the Chaos Emerald in a way much more intense than we'd expect, because he's literally wanting to go home and literally made a portal home. Yeah, like right here, it seems that he's doing like some full-blown energy projection, putting energy around his fists and punching with amplified energy fists. In some occasions, they say this is gliding. This is just straight up flying. Unless he just did a super jump. Yeah, this just looks like straight up flying to me. And he apparently has super senses to tell if you're invisible. He can still tell you're there. Knuckles isn't afraid to pull out a gun either. So while it is true that Knuckles is one of those rare characters that has chaos energy just latent basically in his base form, one could say, there is moments where he would actually get completely amped up by the full power of the emeralds, and they call them super modes. You know how Sonic has his super modes or forms where he gets gold and gets powered up by these emeralds and stuff. This universe version of the Infinity Stones, Knuckles has modes like this. Other than this chaos energy that's latent in him, you can either call this Super Knuckles or Hyper Knuckles. This way he gets really powered up by the stuff. Like, they literally break down the super modes. Usually happens when people are exposed to a high amount of chaos energy via 7 Chaos Emeralds, Soul Emeralds, or Master Emerald. It don't really matter. You just know, just like Sonic, it increases their innate talents, gives them invulnerability. Same for Knuckles. Like, they even talk about the different forms here. Don't be surprised if you hear me bring up other forms like Super Scores to understand other beings of super forms, because they're all similar. Hyper Knuckles has his own, transformed by Chaos Emeralds. This is crucial for this video. A mode that apparently gives him an 1,000 times multiply, like multiplying his already crazy strength by 1,000 apparently. This is something I will be bringing back up in this video. This can kind of give you somewhat of a ballpark of idea what his base is, and you can kind of work off each other understanding his power based on knowing that this is 1,000 times stronger. If that 1,000 times thing isn't just a pun or something. Like if they actually mean 1,000, literally that would kind of give us an idea. You know, I'll bring this back up later. Remember how I already told you how Sonic has the speed advantage? There's implications that Knuckles' strength gets boosted and his speed gets boosted, because when Sonic's power is boosted, his speed is boosted. Knuckles can still keep up with him in combat speed and stuff like that, right? when they're both in their super modes. So just like how Knuckles is 1,000 times stronger, one could say he has to be 1,000 times faster to be even remotely able to keep up with Super Sonic in this state, who's 1,000 times faster than he usually would be. But yeah, let me get off this for now. Knuckles' power just keeps kind of evolving over time. Like, he would eventually start becoming like on some living Chaos Emerald type stuff. Like he even said it himself, I've gone from being a guardian of the Chaos Emerald and morphed into a living Chaos Emerald, harnessing the energy of this green, like you see this green aura. Like, his power kind of evolved to the point where it was almost hard for him to even control it at this point. Like, he would release just like omnidirectional energy blast, like a tidal wave of energy, they stated here. Full-blown energy projection. It was stated in this green state he could bridge the gulf between time and space, implied to be able to read minds, does some spirit mode type stuff, and sends like a spirit version of himself to communicate telepathically type thing, implied to be able to do some healing. Like, this time he was hit here in this green state, appeared here that he was actually gone, just to find out he was actually pretending to be gone when he wasn't, played dead. He can just literally make stuff, reality warping style, matter manipulation style, like making flowers if he wants. Can remake entire worlds in a different image with reality warping. But of course, eventually Knuckles would get so powerful, the writers got to find a way to get rid of this power. So they had to write a way for him to sacrifice himself. He starts expanding more energy than he ever conceived possible to save everyone. He actually died. And thanks to his selflessness, right here, it implied that he ascended. They wanted to escort him to the Chaos Force because they stated he shall become one with the Force, his eternal destiny. The Chaos Force has chosen you. So while everybody thought he was dead for good, he wasn't necessarily dead for good. He literally ascended. He was in a realm outside of time and space, on a higher plane of reality. They even say, you were one with the Chaos Force, became a cosmic being with absolute power, basically. How can you just casually forsake spiritual enlightenment? Because Knuckles wants to help his friends. This is just giving you an idea of how strong he was, like being merged with the Chaos Force. They literally talked about, how can you give up the chance to be cloaked within the very fabric of eternity? Like, that's basically what he was, powered up like this, like a cosmic being, basically. They keep on bringing up this cosmic design stuff. But yeah, they had to find a way to get rid of this power. So when he ejected himself from the Chaos Force, he came back to life, but he lost all his Chaos power. So that's where he's back to his base state. He did technically lose a power up. I want to make something clear. Just because he lost this higher dimensional form doesn't mean he can't control some form of chaos energy still. Like, he still has chaos energy latent in him. He just might not be a higher dimensional being like how he ascended to the higher plane all the time anymore. You know what I mean? It was stated his powers never left. They were dormant, just had to get reawakened by the Master Emerald. He had to reawaken his power. I will be bringing this stuff back up. And then there was that time Knuckles became like this being that Knuckles ended up getting powered by. Like, he was an ancient, malevolent spirit of incredible power. He's always manifested within an echidna. This is part of the reason why Knuckles would end up getting powered up. They literally describe him as having nearly unlimited power, restricted only by the imagination of the avatar. Avatars being different echidna, Knuckles being one of them echidna. You get the idea? I'll bring this back up also later, but yeah, eventually Knuckles did get turned back to normal, like temporary stuff. Let me just talk about his base state without talking about this stuff for now. Knuckles. When we are just talking about Knuckles' strength, he has plenty of showings, proven to us why he's the muscle of the group. We've seen him sling people really far and hard through stone, walls. I mean, Sonic isn't the heaviest guy in the world, but the fact he can throw Sonic basically to the clouds for Tails to help throw him even farther, it just kind of shows how physically strong he is too. And of course, in their many adventures, we've seen them fight mechs that are bigger than them, despite the size difference. We've seen them hold this arm, for example, of this mech, team up, other than restraining beings or robots. Knuckles proves why you should never wear a cape, kinda, sorta. All this rubble he helped support. Yeah, Eggman has a lot of tech. We see this big old drill. We see Knuckles literally, like, kind of stop the drill from spinning. Like, how many tons of rubble do you think this is that Knuckles can lift up? With all this strength, it's only natural he can punch really hard. Like, in this occasion, punching the ground so hard it cracks. Punching other powerful beings, they make shockwaves from their hits. Partly because of his physiology having literal bladed spiked knuckles. He can punch and engrave his fist in a trap to climb it. We've seen him punch beings really far distances. He's fought all different types of mechs, like with the crew, Eggman always having him fight mechs. I mean, that's basically why you see him ramp through this big robot here with his strikes. So saying his punches can only punch down concrete or brick walls will be just kind of disrespectful. That's a no duh. Of course it can. I mean, think about it. We literally seen him punch through a whole bunch of stone or brick walls with his punches. So of course he can punch through this concrete and stuff. Like this is something he did in his super mode, like Hyper Knuckles mode, but this is something I totally think his base form can do, punching through all this stuff. I mean, I know they did it in his Emerald mode, but punching through concrete or steel, they should be able to do this stuff. This is another occasion where it's their super modes, but I'm pretty sure his base can do this too, breaking the top of mountaintops, you know. I mean, if you played enough Sonic games, you know speed is a big thing. Even if you're not necessarily Sonic, you know there's characters in this universe that's fast. Knuckles is one of those characters that's fast too. That could be part of the reason why he can hit so hard. On top of his Knuckles literally being in his literal fist, he can actually move from point A to point B ridiculously fast, just with raw speed. This combat speed stuff could help his punching power too. Like, we've seen him get raided with a whole bunch of traps and he can avoid them all. Like, I'm talking from every direction you can think of. Like, this is actually combat speed, guys. Reflexes. In combat, we've seen him dodge knives thrown at him. Things that literally look like laser beams. Even dodges one here, it appears. To prove I'm not BSing when it comes to his fighting speed, he literally does the super speed classic thing of, like, spinning like a tornado to show that he actually can move really, really fast. You're probably wondering, how fast is he? What's his limits? Well, just look at it like this. His sprinting speed, like in straight line speed, he can run ridiculously fast. They even imply it with the comic here, like you can see the explosion, he has to literally outrun it. Would you all agree that the best way to understand Knuckles' speed is comparing him to Sonic? I mean, we already know Sonic is one of those characters where his running speed, like when I say running speed, I'm talking about straight line speed, is similar to his combat speed, like being able to zigzag and react to stuff coming at you at crazy speeds. Sonic is one of those characters that's that fast, no matter which iteration really, right? His running speed seems to match up with his fighting speed reflexes, right? Considering that in the Archie Sonic comics, Sonic is ridiculously fast, I'm talking about faster than the speed of light, which I'm going to show you in 2 seconds, but like, look at these scans of him just fighting Knuckles. He can't just blitz Knuckles with his reflexes. This could be part of the reason why Knuckles can hit so hard. He's able to literally fight at the speed of light like Sonic type characters that can fight at the speed of light and higher. I mean, let this sink in. He's brawling it out with Sonic so much to the point where they even both get tired. So that's like that lets you know that he's constantly a threat to him. This is consistent with the video game lore. The comics kind of mimic the video game stuff. Sonic themed threats like Metal Sonic, we've seen him punch apart. Proof that right here he can match Sonic's power by when he punches him. People claim, Knuckles, you gotta chill out. You killer nearly took his head off, apparently. And it's proven that Sonic will use his super speed in combat against Knuckles, because we literally see him use super speed against Knuckles to ram into Knuckles with his super speed to punch him. It's just too many scans of showing him matching Sonic. Their fights get so intense, they even make holes in castles. It kind of shows that Knuckles' durability kind of matches up with how hard he can punch. He can go through the same stuff he can punch through. His body can withstand that same force. That's proven because the multiverse exists. And we've seen him get hit by alternate reality versions of himself, so whatever he can hit with his durability is on that same level, back vice versa. Sonic is a being that's not just supersonic, he's actually faster than lightning, which is over 200,000 miles per hour. Sonic has dodged like literal particle beams. Sonic can not only move light speed at least, but double the speed of light. So by default, even if Sonic does have the speed advantage, if we're being disrespectful, bare minimally, Knuckles would have to have light speed, fighting speed as a bare minimum, more than likely more than that. Sonic in the Archie comics can literally traverse this thing known as the Cosmic Interstate, which is interstate to pretty much everywhere in the multiverse. Like, yeah, it's a place that leads to everybody's door, every dimension. And if we're to assume this universe is infinite, like one universe, they imply that Sonic can visit all the planets in the universe, even the ones we don't know of yet, and still be home for dinner. That would bare minimally be disrespectful. That's massively faster than the speed of light. If you could traverse every infinite possible corner of the universe in a finite amount of time, that would automatically, technically be infinite speed. But even if you don't want to say that far, like way faster than the speed of light, because he would have to traverse multiple galaxies of planets, like in speed. Like, this is the type of stuff Knuckles has to compete with in speed, like this being Sonic. So yeah, being disrespectful, Knuckles has to be so many times astronomically faster than the speed of light, it's not even really funny, guys. They talked about his incalculable speed here. So Knuckles' speed has to be way faster than the speed of light in the super mode, especially fighting Super Sonic. And we know his base form is like at least light speed. I'm pretty sure I don't have to convince you that he can easily punch apart buildings with this kind of speed. I mean, imagine him ramming into something. Like, of course he can tremble and collapse buildings with this punching speed without even counting his muscle. Like, just think about it. If his fist can hit you at thousands of times faster than the speed of light, he doesn't even need to worry about the muscle strength. That hit would be ridiculous. But just for the sake of lowballing, even if we was to disrespect him and say he can only move at 99% speed of light, which he's definitely faster than, if we was to be disrespectful and say he can only move at 99% the speed of light, a 99% the speed of light punch would still be enough to tremble or shake a city, or the force similar to what we would call nuclear bombs, like just with the raw speed he can produce, even though we know he's way faster than 99% speed of light. I'm being disrespectful. You remember these super forms I brought up earlier? This can kind of give you an idea of base Knuckles' strength. Because think about it, if super modes similar to Super Knuckles or Hyper Knuckles like Supersonic, like we've seen what Supersonic can do with it when it comes to energy projection or just raw power output, they talk about this kind of stuff casually. Yeah, this isn't Knuckles, but Knuckles has actually fought Supersonic. They talk about destroying moons like it's no big deal, really. Yep, Sonic was fighting his own super mode. His own super mode was going haywire. Yep, don't ask. I'm just putting in perspective on how strong these super modes are right quick. Like other beings that are not necessarily Sonic have their own super modes, same concept still. And they talk about how they can destroy planets. This should apply for Knuckles' as super mode too, because they're powered up by similar stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of them fighting other versions of themselves shenanigans in these stories. Yep. In this scan, it pretty much talks about how they're similar. So yeah, him being able to dash planets in half, that stuff should apply for Knuckles' super mode. See, this is the kind of stuff that can kind of give you an idea of how strong the base form Knuckles is. If we know this is 1,000 times stronger than his base state, if we just take these numbers seriously, we can simply do math and do division to find out Knuckles' bare minimum strength he would have to be in his base state. When it comes to the bare minimum punching power, he would have to, because we know he's 1,000 times weaker than Hyper Knuckles. So if we assume the bare minimum amount of megatons needed to destroy the Earth, or a planet like the Earth, is 53 quadrillion megatons. So all we would have to do to find out what base Knuckles' strength is, if we to take those numbers seriously, would be to divide this by 1,000, because he's 1,000 times weaker. This would end up being, instead of 53 quadrillion megatons, this would end up being 53 trillion megatons, which would still be a lot of force. So no matter how you look at it, so as a bare minimum, 53 trillion megatons would still be enough to cause devastation to continents with his fist. Like, just like being thousands of times weaker than his super form still proves that he's still stupid strong when it comes to his punches. Meaning he can definitely quake continents, even countries, more than one country. His punches would be way more than enough force or energy enough to destroy a city or cities. And by default, his punches would be way more potent than nuclear bombs by a lot, you know, without even counting super modes, or one can say hyper modes. I'm not done talking about Hyper Knuckles because this still is, I'm still basically lowballing Hyper Knuckles on purpose, just to give you a perspective. Yep, I'm going to get back to this in a second. Yep, he's definitely stronger. Let me go backwards again. See, it's easy to overlook stuff like this when you don't understand the beings he's boxing it out with power. He's boxing it out with this super powerful being, withstanding blows from this being. Like, this fight alone pretty much kind of confirms that his punches are way worse than just continental shaking, because he's not only taking hits from this being, but he's hitting this being back in a slugfest and keeping on fighting, not getting one-shotted. See, Knuckles is literally boxing it out with something that he would eventually get powered up by too. But yeah, I'm just letting you know he can fight super buffed modes of himself, basically, one could say, in his base state. A being that literally has nearly unlimited power. Knuckles is fighting a version of this. I'm just trying to put in perspective on how powerful this is. Like, this one, Knuckles was powered up by it too, when he was like an avatar of it. We've seen him get hits by literal Supersonic. Do you understand how strong Supersonic is, guys, in this Archie universe? Supersonic can punch so hard, not even kind of reality warping stuff. I'm just talking about punches that can literally bend time and space. The walls containing the zone's reality begin warping wildly. The zone can no longer contain itself. It swells, it cracks, it explodes. Yep, supersonic beings can punch hard enough to make a whole universe or dimension explode, the zone explode. People even show the calculations of it. So that's why I'm giving you an idea of Knuckles' base power, because we literally seen Knuckles in his base state fight this same power he ends up getting. Like, we literally see him fight this same power, something that can battle Supersonic, a being that can collapse dimensions with his punches. Like, yeah, he's not necessarily fighting himself, but he's fighting a being that has the same similar power that Knuckles will end up getting. We've literally seen them two box it out. And it's not like one-sided like you would expect it. It should be one-sided. The fact he can hit him back and slugfest, like, yeah, I'm not saying he's equal to his power, but the fact that his base state can still hang with it is crazy. This kind of stuff would imply he has to be way above planet, just planet shattering. Even if he's not completely equal, he's boxing it out with a power-up that allows beings to hang with beings that can shake or quake or collapse literal dimensions or zones which are universes with their punches. Knuckles is boxing it out with that kind of stuff in his base state. I'm pretty sure he can hit with the force necessary to destroy a planet if he can box it out with these beings even for 5 seconds. He's got blasted by this power-up. Something that should be way above him, but he's somehow hanging in there. Even called power so limitless, he's taking blast from. Like, remember how earlier I talked about he was bathed in chaos energy? This kind of stuff can kind of imply his hits are crazy too. There was a point where he was powered up by this green chaos energy in his base state. It was like he was a living chaos emerald. Like, the mutation got kind of crazy. Like, he literally morphed into a living Chaos Emerald, stated again here. Like, usually when these characters are in their super modes, they usually are powered up by multiple Chaos Emeralds. I just wanted to give you an idea of what one Chaos Emerald can do, guys. One of them can create a whole new zone. You know how I told you about earlier, a zone is a universe or a dimension or a pocket dimension. One emerald just one can do this, or 1.5 or something. And we got Knuckles in this greenish powered up state with Chaos Energy being called a living Chaos Emerald. So bare minimally, these zones are literally different realities, alternate realities, variations upon this certain zone. That's when they say zone. They're talking about an alternate reality, an alternate dimension. It can also refer to a smaller pocket dimension. So Knuckles powered up by his chaos energy. Planet shattering should be a joke. Being powered up this much, being a living Chaos Emerald would mean galaxy shaking would be nothing as well. With his punches, he would technically have the raw striking power to shake the universe or threaten the universe. Being remotely compared to a Chaos Emeralds can create universes or zones, they say, or realities. What do you think his powered up green energy fist could produce? You know what I'm saying? So now that you know that these Chaos Emeralds, one of them can create a universe or dimension or zone, imagine how strong Hyper Knuckles or Knuckles with a super mode would be if he has multiple of these. I would like to add that there's a lot of similar power-ups in this universe. You got the Master Emerald, Chaos Emeralds, absorbing enough chaos energy from an emerald, Hyper Knuckles, all that's the same concept. Because when these two punch, Supersonic, you already know how powerful Supersonic is. They have unimaginable raw energy. It erupts, literally bending time and space. The walls containing the zone's reality begin warping wildly. The zone can no longer contain itself. It swells, it cracks, it explodes. Hyper Knuckles collapse a dimension or zone, an alternate reality. They stated the very fabric of reality tore apart. And since base Knuckles is 1,000 times weaker than this, what's 1,000 times less than the power needed to destroy a dimension or collapse a dimension? Even 1,000 times weaker than dimension shattering would still be enough energy to mess up a star or quake one, wouldn't you agree? Or even bigger things like a galaxy or two. Very tough feat to measure. His base state is kind of absurd because all that chaos green stuff that I was talking about earlier, this is kind of just his base state. Like, it was straight up revealed. His powers never left. They were dormant, just had to get reawakened by the Master Emerald. He had to reawaken his power. Just to give you an idea of what Hyper Knuckles and supersonic beings are powered by, stuff that can cause infinite realities to get wiped out. So with these stones, basically, it makes him into a cosmic being, kind of. If he so wanted to and wanted to harness these emeralds a certain way, he could devastate multiple or possibly infinite universes or zones with his either reality warping or energy projection in the super states or hyper states. And this makes you wonder, since his base form is 1,000 times weaker than this, oh boy, guess what? What is 1,000 times weaker than infinite universes? Still a ton of different universes? Yeah. Thousands of times weaker still makes him be able to tremble a lot of universes. He's putting off such energy, generating power akin to a Chaos Emerald, the ultimate Echidna. It's like they're plugged into a limitless power source because of him being bathed in Chaos Emerald energy. He was causing all this ruckus. The same type of stuff should apply, just like how you can do multiple universe type of destruction like this when he's powered up by multiple emeralds or the energy of emeralds. Similar stuff should apply for his green state, dubbed Chaos Knuckles, when his power was literally compared to a Chaos Emerald. Right here, we know Chaos Emeralds can devastate universes. You get the idea. Other beings use these emeralds to power themselves up with extra durability. You notice how here they state about these emeralds, I could create or destroy universes. Classic emerald stuff. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because characters like Sonic, Knuckles in general have to fight against beings that are powered up by this stuff. Like, when it comes to this world, there's literal beings that will become literally fused with Chaos Emerald. Like, they even quoted nearly limitless power, like stuff we are used to hearing when it comes to emeralds, super mode. Like, you can literally see it in his chest. Like, this is the type of stuff Knuckles and Sonic has people have to fight, stuff that can devastate universes. We've seen base characters battle these type of beings, and as you all would have guessed, Knuckles being one of the beings to help fight beings that are powered up by emeralds. It's like a common theme in Sonic lore for beings to battle beings that have powers of these emeralds. Like, Knuckles is literally boxing it out with beings that are powered up by emeralds. One emerald can literally create a universe or universes, devastate a universe, stuff like that. And there was this time Knuckles became the avatar of a deity, got a lot of different versatile abilities like this too. I briefly mentioned this earlier, but yeah, I'm mentioning it again. This is basically when Knuckles turned villain. Like, there was a point when Knuckles was fighting this limitless power, when he wasn't powered up by this power. So you can kind of get an idea of how strong Knuckles would have to be based on this other beings being the avatar of this crap, because Knuckles literally got this too. But at first they was fighting, of course. But yeah, they can teleport. This should apply for Knuckles in this state. Apparently the ability to do anything with a thought. Something like this should also apply for Knuckles when it comes to powers, being able to create a city on the spot, basically, with just a wave of his hand. You know, Knuckles, when we see him using it, we see him kind of have some telekinesis type stuff. Levitates beings in the air. I know you guys are tired of universe destroying stuff, infinite power being stated over and over again, but yeah, this form is the same concept, basically. Being a super mode, basically. Infinite power. Being powered up by 11 Chaos Emeralds. So yeah, you know, he's got that multi-universe shattering type power. Power easily able to lay worlds multiple to waste. They're probably talking about either planets or just universes in general. So yeah, multi-universe trembling might when Knuckles was a villain like this. Stuff you're probably used to at this point. I mean, think about it. We all know how strong Supersonic is. He's powered up by emeralds, where each one emerald can mess up one universe. And we've seen him blast and battle Supersonic. Like, it's just a common theme in this video. You're probably all tired of hearing this at this point. His punches are strong enough to affect Supersonic when he's supposed to be invincible. Just keep in mind that Supersonic has fought another Knuckles mode, like earlier I've already shown this, you know, destroying or collapsing an entire dimension. Like, the stuff should apply for Knuckles in this state too, just like his super and hyper mode could do. You get it. You get the point by now, don't you? But at the end of the day, guys, you got to respect Knuckles. Even in his base state, he's genetically enhanced to have emerald chaos energy in him. That could be part of the reason why he has actual blades made with his hands. That's not his gloves. When other Echidnas have gloves that have spikes, his is just natural spikes. He's the ultimate Echidna. I like the lore in this universe. Archie, they add more mythos to his family and stuff. But what do you guys think? Before I get going, I gotta say thanks to the donators real quick. It helps out a lot. Respect Knuckles. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.